I'd like to reconvene the meeting. I need a motion and a second to reconvene the public session.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion so carried. This time, let's see. Reza, would you like to do the Pledge of Allegiance this evening?
Yes, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the district clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Murphy? Mrs. Mallon?
Present.
Mrs. Kennedy?
Present.
Dr. Adams?
Present.
Mrs. Napolitano-Furno?
Present.
Mrs. Augulus? Mr. Sheehan? Mr. Kohli-Hifar?
Present.
Mr. Hauser?
Present.
And Ms. Poppy?
Present.
And myself, the district clerk.
At this time, I would like the superintendent has something to share with the community.
Thank you, Mrs. Kennedy. A few weeks ago, I informed the board that I was not seeking to extend my contract past its current term, which ends on June 30, 2023. At this time, I am writing to notify the board that I intend to resign for purposes of retirement on June 30th, 2023. I do this in response to my contract provision that states that the superintendent shall give the board at least 12 months written notice of her intent to terminate this contract. By giving the board this courtesy early notification, the board can now determine how to budget for a superintendent search, as well as perform a good search to find a successor superintendent. I continue to be committed to the Connecticut community during my final year of service. I look forward with our administrative team, faculty, and staff to putting together an amazing comeback from COVID year for our students in the fall of 2022, and continue to work with our community to keep our schools a great place for our students. I thank you for everything this community has done. I know it's been a rough 2 years with COVID, but 8 years of leadership of this great district has left me humbled. Our students are amazing. Our staff and our faculty are amazing. This community has so much heart, and I just thank you for letting me lead for all these years. So thank you for letting me read that, Mrs. Kennedy.
Thank you very much for all you've done.
So there are just two changes to the meeting agenda. The original agenda posted online does not have a second public comment period. This was done unintentionally, and as such, there will be an open public comment period after the business items are concluded. Additionally, 2 items have been added to the consent agenda, and we can go into more detail at that time.
Thank you. I'm going to do the minutes of the Board of Ed. I call for a motion to accept and second to accept the minutes of the March 8th, 2022 Board of Ed meeting. I need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. We're going on to discussion items. Student government report. Do we have our students? Here they are.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello. So student government held a Valentine's Day flower sale at our annual PS I Love You Day. These events were held in February and were a massive success. We sold all 300 flowers that we had ordered and made a sizable profit. We did this fundraiser in collaboration with the Anti-Bullying Club and had a very large turnout of student volunteers, which is always nice to see. On PS I Love You Day, the hallways were a sea of purple to support suicide awareness, and we made announcements throughout the day between every class period. An example of one of the messages that we said is, "Happy PS I Love You Day. Everyone stop right now and place your hand over your heart. Do you feel it? That's called purpose. Never let anyone tell you that you lack a place in this world because you're what makes it amazing." This day was amazing, and it led to a very eventful February. We also held our first annual St. Patrick's Day Spirit Week to boost morale in March. The third quarter is always known for a lack of energy, and we want to get students through the winter. So Spirit Week definitely contributed to turning around students' moods. Monday was Pajama Day, as normal. Tuesday was Leprechaun Day, Wednesday was Shamrock Day, and Thursday was Wear Green. A special shout out to Mr. Melfi and Adriana Messina for being named the most spirited faculty member and student. We hope to continue this tradition into the future.
Thank you. The senior class returned from their senior trip a couple of weeks ago after a wonderful 3-day stay at the Pine Ridge Dude Ranch. This new venue worked out wonderfully and had great activities, food, and entertainment. The class of 2022 members, the amazing chaperones, Mr. and Mrs. Pichitelli, Mr. Wolf, and Mr. Lieberman, our class advisors, they all deserve a huge thank you for making this event happen through all the difficulties and cancellations that we had with COVID restrictions. Students learned archery at the ranch, rock climbing, and horseback riding. They sang karaoke for hours on end and engaged in a beautiful 2-night stay that highlighted the beauty of senior camaraderie. Moving forward into senior events of this year, the senior banquet is scheduled to happen on Wednesday, May 18th at Flower Fields. This event will entail the superlative announcements, the viewing of the senior video, dinner, and dancing. We are still working out the details of when ticket sales will happen, but the class of 2022 is aiming to start ticket sales for the first week of April. As soon as all those details become available, they'll be emailed home and posted to the grade-level Google Classroom as per normal. Additionally, the junior dance and the senior prom are also in the planning stages, and once those details are finalized, they'll be distributed as well.
The annual musical production for the Musical Theater Club, The Addams Family, closed this weekend. We did The Addams Family. We did 3 performances. I was in the cast, and it was amazing. We had such a great turnout from the community, and it was so wonderful to see everybody there after 2 years of not having those productions due to COVID. I would like to thank everyone who made their best efforts to attend. We had huge turnouts, made a great profit. And I would also like to thank all the directors, everyone, the pit, the cast, the stage crew. We also did a performance for the 5th grade students who came to the high school, and we did another performance for the alternative night school students. And then student government has plans for the spring to support students during the most stressful time of the school year, test season. We will be commissioning several banners and decorations that will be placed around the large and small gym of the high school and in the library as well. These will be hung during early May through June to wish students luck on the AP exams and New York State Regents exams.
That was excellent. I attended the play on Saturday. I know years prior, we used to do like the early bird show for like the seniors, and they would have their own private performance. Is that something we did this year?
We did not. We had all the 5th graders from around the district come.
Is that something that maybe we can do because we've done it in the past. We've invited the seniors to come. They come in the afternoon, and the staff and the students were gracious. They would put nice little cookies and things out for the What? Yeah. So I find out where you're directed because I remember years ago they used to have like a nice private showing for the seniors.
Yes, we did get
My son was in the play for a couple of years. He started in a couple of the plays. He's 37, so this is going back a ways. And I didn't know that they did that then. I tried to get to your performance, but I can't drive myself, and I had no one to take me. I tried 2 days in a row, but you live right behind me. I probably could have asked you if I knew that you would be going.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's okay. Thank you for attempting to come. And we did get a new director this year, so things did shift a little bit. I know even the fifth grade performance had been called into question, so there were definitely also questions with COVID. So in the future, I'm sure that we will expand what we do with the musical, especially when we have more resources at our disposal. We had a limited budget this year. But I think that it would be great to share with as many members of the community the musical and promote musical theater as much as possible.
Yeah, see if you can find out your director. I don't think I'm losing my brain yet, but I thought
Right.
at some point,
remember that.
didn't they used to do like a private performance, so to speak, for the seniors? Yes, it was something that came out of our PPS office, actually. But unfortunately, a lot of the folks who were our connections and liaisons to those homes have passed. So we were watching the attendance rate go lower and lower. So what we did one year was we gave out a golden ticket, and they could come with our fifth graders, and then COVID interfered.
Right.
So it's been a few years since we had that. We originally used to have a night, we had a night performance. It was actually a dinner. We used to bus our folks here.
Oh,
but
that was the senior.
the seniors. that's what-
Seniors, yeah,
Yeah.
the seniors stopped, then they brought in the elementary kids.
Yeah, because the seniors, we were losing them.
That's the day I
That's-
wanted to
that's the
come.
problem.
I don't know, who did you do when you did the dress rehearsal?
Yes, we did the fifth graders, all from around the different elementary schools. They were
And the dre-
busting.
That's when I wanted to come for the dress rehearsal the first time I made the intent.
Yeah, we did a limited show for them, so it wasn't the full production. It was only about 30 minutes when all was said and done. But then for the alternative night school, we did a full run of the entire show.
What
which
day was that?
That was later the same day,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Well, I think you guys did a fantastic job. I watched it Friday night, and it was amazing.
Thank you so much.
I put it on the board discussions, but since we're talking about it now, I might as well just talk about Adam's Family. We'll finish it off. Exceptional vocals, exceptional show, cast. You guys did an amazing job. It was so, so great to see you guys all on the big stage again. Amazing. Like, I honestly thought we were like at an off-Broadway show. It was beautiful. And what I thought was so nice to see too was all these music teachers from across the district and our very own music director was in the pit playing. I thought that was the coolest thing. I loved it. To see all of them playing with you guys was just amazing. Great job.
Thank
Great
you so
job.
much. Thank you.
Just one last thing. I've also reached out to Mr. Allen, and I'm awaiting a response regarding the next stops in preparation for the Paint Your Senior Parking Spot fundraiser. This fundraiser was extremely successful, and over 165 spots were sold this past year, leaving us with huge profits in fundraising. Based on the new construction with the solar panel carports and the need to paint over these spots, as discussed in the initial proposal, we're going to collaborate closely with Buildings and Grounds to make this a seamless process. We have a phenomenally trained team of rising seniors ready to carry out this fundraiser next year and truly establish this as a legacy and time-honored tradition. So again, we're just waiting for that response to move forward with this fundraiser for the 2022-2023 school year.
So if I could just go off of that, Zach, I would like to have board approval to carry on that tradition because I thought that was fantastic with the senior parking. It's great team building. It's wonderful for the senior class to get together in the summer, paint their spots. So I would love to have that tradition continue.
Great.
I'm a yes, it was amazing. I love to see all you guys' artwork, really. People really went out of their way and did such beautiful artwork out there.
And then upon further planning, once we choose a date, again, we like to base it off of when fall sports starts. We like to do it before then in the summer, so we can get maximum participation. Once we have that official date, it'll be added to the district calendar, and I'll let you know.
There's one thing I just want to add. The only thing that I saw that I thought might be something, and I think that admin said they were going to allow it, is if maybe this year it could be all seniors who want to pay for the spot, get the spot, and even if it can't be utilized until 3 months later or 6 months later, they still have their spot. Because the way I feel about that is there were kids I know this year that wanted to do it, and they had to do it at a different time. And I just think it would be so nice for all the students to be able to do it together, even if those spots aren't utilized by those children until they're able to drive.
100%. And when we did it this past year, just because it was the first start, we were concerned about people reserving spots that were never going to get a license. But after discussing with administration and seeing the divide in this one big senior event, Mr. Moran did tell us it's okay to move forward with just one main paint date that's going to happen in that late summer.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you. Have a good night.
Mr. Hauser, it's your turn.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Good evening. So tonight, we're going to do the second draft of the proposed expenditure budget. And I would just like the community to know that this entire presentation will be on the district website sometime tomorrow, probably by the afternoon. It'll be on the district's main website page under the district tab. The next tab would be the budget and voting information. And then further down on that page, it'll be under 2022-23 budget documents. Next page, please. So this is the budget calendar that we've been following since January. I highlighted in yellow where we are tonight. I made a few changes here. Number one, just below the yellow, I put a line through the state legislative budget, the school aid final estimate. Unfortunately, the New York State Assembly and the New York State Senate, excuse me, are still debating the final state budget and also the school state aid numbers. So we don't have that information yet. Typically, they try to provide that information to the schools no later than March 31st. So we're optimistic that we'll have that information in the next few days. I just added in bold on April 15th that there may need to be another meeting to present that additional information once we get the information from the state on the school aid. Okay, so we're at April 5th, we're at March 22nd, and the finale here will obviously be a little less than 60 days from now on May 17th. We'll actually have the budget vote along with the school board election. If we just back up one date, May 10th is the actual budget hearing, and then we estimate right now that on April 12th, the board will adopt the final budget, but that's also tentative as well. Okay, next slide, please. So just like we highlighted the last board meeting in the last budget presentation, this tentative proposed budget maintains all of our programs, academic programs, athletic programs, and extracurricular programs, as well as services the district provides. However, as most people are aware, the current fiscal climate is posing a number of challenges here with the budget as we try to estimate what the costs are going to be a year, even 15 months from now as this proposed budget is actually active. So one of the items I mentioned last time, we're seeing extremely high increases in educational materials and supplies, if we can even get some of those materials. Food products in the cafeteria, so far we've been able to manage, but we are on alert for shortages of certain food products, and we're also anticipating some significant price increases there as well. The third bullet I highlighted employee health benefits, and in particular, we use NYSHIP, the New York State Health Insurance Plan. That plan, which is on a calendar year, not a school year. So this past January 1st, we saw increases upwards of 12% for a family plan there. So we're factoring those significant increases as well into this budget. The other big cost that we have to deal with is our transportation department and the cost for parts for our fleet, as well as the cost of gasoline and diesel fuel to operate the fleet as well. So that's just a few challenges that we're up against. Next slide, please. This really is a summary page right now of where we are with the budget. If we worked from the left over to the right, obviously the left column there is just a description. Up at the top, I just put a little legend which tells everyone that in yellow, there are several numbers that are still subject to change. The first column with numbers is the 2021-22 school year approved budget. That's the school year we're actually in right now. So that you can see all of the budget numbers there from the approved budget all the way down to the actual revenues and the actual levy and how that affects the homeowners and their residents in the district. The next column was the first draft of the proposed budget that I presented at the last board meeting. And then the following column is the 2022-23 second draft, which we are presenting tonight. The column over will show you the dollar difference between the last budget that was presented at the last board meeting versus the budget that we are going to present tonight. Towards the top, so far, we've been able to find cost savings of about $1,686,000, and that has enabled us to bring the spending part of the budget below 3% down to 2.94%. And just so everyone knows, from a tax levy and an ownership perspective of residences or businesses, that right now, and it's tentative, would equate to a 2.32% increase. That 2.32 is not on this particular slide, but I just thought I'd let everyone know. Okay. So just focusing on the far right column, where I have the savings of $1,686,000. I then show the different revenues that are going to be used to support this budget, and we have corresponding decreases in revenues as we decrease our expenditures. There is a line that's called amount to be raised by taxes. That's $135,317,509. That is the maximum we are allowed to raise the levy according to the state's tax cap. A little further down shows the total revenues of $209,558,264. That's the exact amount of the actual proposed budget. And as we work our way down, we see the estimated assessed value of the district, which is the same assessed value that was used to calculate the levy this school year. The town of Islip typically will not notify us until September or October of what the new assessed value is going to be. And that's just one reason why that number is highlighted in yellow, because it is subject to change. And then I broke down towards the bottom what the tax rate would be. And then I gave three particular examples, excuse me, depending upon the assessed value of a particular home in the community, how much the school taxes might be under those scenarios. If you recall the last board meeting, I did use one particular tax bill as an example, and I highlighted the different exemptions that a particular homeowner may have and how those exemptions affect the assessed value. So it's important that each resident of the district, whether it be residential or commercial, actually have and views their own tax bill to see what their true assessed value is, so they can equate what their school taxes will be under this tentative scenario. Any questions on this slide?
No.
Okay, we can go to the next one, please. Okay, what I did here for the following 2 pages, this is a summary of all of the line items, the individual line items in our budget, and I summarized it by the dollar increase. So for example, at the very top of this page, we have a line item called hospital, medical, and dental insurance for employees. And as I mentioned a few slides ago, that's one of the challenges we have right now with the significant increase. This particular budget line item is the highest increase on a dollar basis. We're going from $29,311,000 all the way up to $33,563,000, which is an increase of a little over $4 million in employee health insurance. And then from that number, you can see the dollar increases of the line items decrease all the way down to the bottom of this page, where we see a very small increase for the district clerk-related expenses. And then if we go to the next page, which we might have to wait. One back, please, if you could. Thank you. So this is the second page, and starting at the top, you still see the dollar change or positive dollar changes. Those are increases in budget line items. And then as we work our way down, we can see line items that have no change whatsoever. And then also further down, there are budget line items that are showing decreases in expenditures. I just want to highlight the second to last item at the very bottom. It's account number 2250. It's called Programs Students with Disabilities. And in this particular code, we were able to identify cost savings to the tune of $964,000 so far. Any questions on either of these two pages? Okay, the next slide, please. So this slide just puts some of the budget summary information into perspective. I broke it down into 7 code sections. I showed the dollar amount that's associated with those code sections, as well as a graph that gives you an example of how much each of those codes represents as part of the budget. If you can see towards the bottom right in the legend, the largest one in the district is instructional expenses, and that's approximately 52% of the budget. Okay, and then we broke it down by general support, transportation, and undistributed expenses. Next slide, please. Okay. For transparency purposes here, we're actually going to post, again, there's, I believe, 16 pages of individual line items in the budget. And these go in account number order as the state, we follow the state chart of accounts. So I'm not going to review all 16 pages right now, but like I said, this will be up on the district website tomorrow for anyone to view. The column that's highlighted in yellow is the current proposed budget. And anywhere that you see a blue highlight, that's a number that changed from the last time we presented the budget. And then all the way to the right are individual explanations. If a particular account increased more than $1,000 and 10%, we provided an explanation there. Okay. So like I said, I believe this is 16 pages of individual, very detailed account information of every single account we record activity to in the district and what the proposed budget is for that code. If we can just go to the very last slide, if someone can just fast forward, please. So are there any questions of the board? Mila?
I'm assuming the first question you'll get back to me? Okay. So the second question was the 50,000 that was allocated to both of the middle schools last year, for each school to decide how they want to spend it to increase their programs, or maybe anything that would, subsidize their curriculum. So it's my understanding that that money has not been spent yet?
So if you don't mind, Mylan, if I could just defer to Dr. Adams. I know she provided some information today via email on that particular one.
Yes, actually, the information came from Mrs. Poppy. So,
sorry.
Mrs. Poppy, if you'd like to share the information.
Mylan, the $50,000 per building has not yet been spent, so it still is intact in the budget line for equipment in curriculum.
Is there any anticipation of spending that money? Because, I mean, I think it's, listen, if you gave me money, it would have been spent already.
Yes. So we have a couple of proposals on the table in terms of how to expend those funds. However, one of the proposals that came through was geared more toward the high school as opposed to the middle schools. So we have some refinement to do, and I will be sharing with you where we land. My understanding is that was also a board prerogative to know where those monies were expended. And so I'll be checking in with you shortly in terms of which proposals are, being entertained for both middle school buildings.
Question, because we appropriated money for the high school. We did it last year for the middle school, so now it's only fair that the elementary schools have an opportunity to have some, extra funds to help improve their building and whatever need they see fit. I mean, I did mention the VR. I know the high school has it. I think it's something that might be even cool on the elementary level. Another thing that a parent actually brought up to my attention, because I was thinking of some kind of century tables or things like that, I think it would be great for the elementary level. And it was if you can bear me for 1 second, it was the sand.
Was it like kinetic sand?
No, I don't know if it was, hold on. It was the augmented reality sand table. Have you heard of that?
I have not, but I will certainly look into it.
Yes, I know this parent had spoke to Dean Middleman. He seemed to be pretty excited about the idea, and he's not here, so now it's something maybe you might want to take over and look into. I'll send you a video of what the parent sent me. I actually thought it'd be very cool, maybe to add it to the libraries. The kids can have some interactive play with that. But again, also, if we can maybe consider doing like a VR for each of the libraries, because I think what Connecticut Library did was beautiful. I think it's great. And if we can sort of kind of not be in competition with them, obviously on a lower scale, so that these kids can get a little taste and maybe be excited to go to libraries on the weekend, because they do offer so many opportunities and programs for kids. But if we can maybe have their VR at the elementary level, I think it'd be pretty exciting. This augmented sand table will be pretty exciting for them. I understand that you were going to look into, or maybe Dr. Adams, about the 3D printing, because we also, Lee Kennedy and we went to the elementary libraries for their ribbon cutting, and we really thought that'd be nice to have a nice addition for each of those libraries as well.
Thank you very much. So we are in the process of purchasing those 3D printers for our elementary spaces. There was a lengthy review of the type of equipment that would be best suited to that age level and that skill level. And our technology department landed on the product, and we're in the process of creating a vendorship for them, and we'll be moving ahead with those purchases. That sand table sounds wonderful, and I'm looking forward to viewing the video. And you are correct, the only library media center space in the district that has VR access is our high school library. There are some equipment necessities that go along with VR, aside from the actual virtual reality pieces. There's associated computer equipment and some physical manifestations that have to occur. So it would be a little planning process within each of those spaces to make that happen. But we can certainly see what's out there and what kind of options would, again, be most appropriate for our elementary students.
$1,000 for the middle schools. Would 100,000 be appropriate too, to fit the needs of each of the elementary schools, to just add those little additions to their library?
I don't have a strong working knowledge of the cost of that type of equipment. So if I can do a bit of research into what those items would cost across 7 buildings, I could come up with a closer number. I don't want to just kind of eyeball something and tell you it'll be all right and then be incorrect.
No, absolutely, because it's something that Bob has put in the line, because we have a reserve line, don't we, Bob, for the 100,000, even if we increase it? But even if we increase it for the elementary, that's 7 buildings. So, yes, if we can get that number by the next budget, this way Bob can include that in there at a time.
I sure can. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one, I've had, and I really haven't talked about it, but the middle schools is when they should be learning really, and I've talked about it years ago and nothing happened. But that's when they should be learning, starting to learn how to use a bank, how to use a debit card, how to have an account, how to have a mini bank in each building, and partnering maybe with Teachers Federal Credit Union or a professional, another bank, and a mini post office, so you can put it all together. I think that's a great. Pardon? Oh, that's a great way, I think, to invest in the kids. Once they start learning, by the time they get to middle school, they'll all have savings accounts.
Cherokee just did that. Cherokee had that where they had, the bank actually came in, you put the kids' money in an envelope, and they would come and pick it up and
But this way, they
baskets
can
in.
even have a debit, the kids can have their own little debit card.
No, it's a great idea, but I'm saying I think they did something similar with the part of financial
It was
literacy.
part of the financial literacy pillar committee, which came out of the original steering committee, which I put out a help wanted ad on today. But it was something that came out, a part of the financial literacy committee. They reached out to Teachers Federal Credit Union, and the credit unions reached out into each one of the principals, and certain buildings took advantage of that and did have banking actually happening within their facilities. I'm not sure it's happening right now. I could find out. COVID did change a lot of things, but it was something that came out of a community committee on financial literacy, and it was something that was really well received.
Well, if one building does it, as Jackie says, all buildings should do it.
That's right. Equity across district.
And but that's an education. That's an education.
Everybody should do it.
And kids will
Listen,
learn.
everybody should do Disney Day too. I like Disney Day. It's a fun education. Yeah, every kid needs to have fun too.
Okay, Jackie, your turn.
No, but Lee, I agree with you. That was a great program. I know from Cherokee because my son was involved with it. It was great. Mrs. Poppy,
They should
can I
build
just
upon that.
ask you one thing? If for the next meeting, we could just have a breakdown of the grant money when it comes to the special ed children. I know that we have some issues, and that Mrs. O'Hara had said with you that that you guys are looking into purchasing some equipment for some of the schools so that all children can enjoy the playgrounds. And also that we have, and this was going to be done not through the budget, but through grant money. So if at the next meeting, you can maybe give the public some information, I think it'd be great, just to let them know, if you guys could just figure out what exactly are we doing with that grant money? Where is it going to go and how is it going to be allocated? Because it is nice to have all these things coming in also and being able to do them without doing it on the taxpayer and as a burden to the taxpayer, yet still doing for the kids.
So thank you for that. We've done some preliminary site visits just this week to a couple of the buildings that are in need of particular apparatus, and I will prepare that for you for the next meeting. It's a larger conversation, and this kind of draws in line with what you were just sharing about having those types of opportunities for students in all of the buildings too. So that has also been part of the conversation this week.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Well, let me just piggyback on that. So what I'm hearing is they're thinking of putting this equipment or in all buildings versus waiting for someone to say, help me.
I think that's good.
That's good.
I think that's great, because what if you have a child that's got a special need, and we're sending them, I'm just saying, like, to Cherokee or Sycamore, because that's where this classroom is, or if they go into one of the special classes, we shouldn't just have it at those classes. Maybe they live closer to Bosque, for instance. It's good to have that equipment, I think, at all buildings.
I definitely agree, and I don't think you should wait until it's needed. It should be available, because, these children play on playgrounds after school as well.
Yes.
And I know in Idlehour, at one time, we had a swing, a handicap swing. And I'm assuming there was a child that needed it, and they put it there, because I didn't see it in any other building. But
I think every building, I agree with you. I think every building should have one. I know down at the lake, they did that years ago, and there's a handicap seat there because of the town. I think it's mandated now through the town, but they have to have for all kids.
Right.
Which is nice.
So, John Allen, I know Boston some years ago had a swing to help a child with his wheelchair, but I know that at the end of the school day, it was sort of locked up. Like, it wasn't for public use. It was only for school use or any child that was in a wheelchair.
In that, excuse me, in that particular case, that piece of equipment was bought specifically for that child, and it was only supposed to be used with a wheelchair, so it was not something that they wanted to see misused and worn down without being used for the proper purpose.
They're speaking of, is that something that would need to be put away, or is it something the public can have access to as well?
No, I heard the mention of the swings themselves. Every single building has swings available at every single building. If we don't have a child who, or a family that's expressed interest for the use of those swings at the respective buildings, we don't have them up because the majority of the kids can't use it then, and we're lessening the ability. But as soon as any parent expresses a need for it, if their local school wants it, every building has those swings available at the buildings.
that's good to know. That's good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, and the piece you're relating to the consideration for further, different equipment at each of the playgrounds. It should be noted that the playgrounds themselves are ADA compliant. They are ADA accessible. That doesn't mean that every single apparatus on the entire playground is ADA accessible. So in the particular case that we're looking at right now, we have a series of climbing apparatus that are meant to use the upper body, that are meant to use, the motor skills from the arms and everything else, which is a problem for this particular child. What they're looking at doing is taking away one of those apparatuses, one of those climbing apparatuses, and putting a step system in place of that so that the child will have greater access to the larger slides. So that's what we're talking about. The playgrounds themselves, though, are ADA compatible. That was definitely a consideration when they were installed.
How soon can this be done, though? Because my understanding is you don't want a child to be sitting by themselves, and, to them, it's a long time.
Yep, I don't know the process by which, they're at in the grant process. I don't know if a amendment needs to be done. I've done some preliminary work with the company that actually did the playgrounds for us a few years ago. They've given us a very ballpark estimate. One of the challenges we had initially is this is not a standard piece of equipment that they provide. Because of the height of the platform that we're trying to go to, it's not a piece that they typically do. They do a step system that's much lower. We're asking them to do an approximately 5-foot high step system. So they had to find somebody who would custom build it. And once they custom build it, then they have to get it certified to meet all of their building specifications. They've done that preliminary research for us. So now I need to make sure that the financing is in place before I can actually create a PO and actually do the work. I can't tell you the lead time on anything right now because, unfortunately, some of the supply chain issues result in very long lead times for any number of things, and I can't predict it until we're actually able to put that PO in place.
John, Are you saying that the parent has to request that the playground be to their child's needs? Because as a school, I think we should know that the child would have different needs and we would be proactive and change the playground, no?
Absolutely, when they're school age and they're in the respective buildings. But if we have a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old who's not yet in the school system, if that parent reaches out, we have the ability to add that. We wouldn't know that child because they're not part of our system yet. But yes, as soon as we know of something, when we did all of the playgrounds, all of the principals are aware that in each of their respective buildings, there is a respective swing for that population.
Perfect, thank you.
I just want to make sure that we make it a priority if we can.
100%. I mean, it's not a question, you know, it's really just, at this point, there has been a lot of research that was required because the vendor's initial concern was that they could not do it. The company, the manufacturer of the equipment, did not have that piece of equipment available.
And we can't bring something else in, is what I'm saying.
From a live, no. I don't know the particular case that we're trying to resolve, and I don't know the nuances of it. I know what I've heard from Mrs. O'Hara. I've relayed that information, and I've communicated that to the playground company. And the solution we have found, which I think it's only been about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, that we actually found out that it was even feasible. You know, so it's actually a work in process at this point. Thank you. Yep, absolutely.
No, I'm going to go a step further with children with special needs or handicapped children. I hate to see any child, if a child can't go on the equipment, why isn't this child being introduced to other kids just because they should be, just because a child has a handicap, doesn't mean that child should not be, interact with other children. So that's a priority. And I also think it happens in school. It does happen, say in gym, it's basketball time, right? So every child has to play basketball, but then there's a handicapped child that has to play as well. And that handicapped child knows they're not going to get those baskets in and is embarrassed by it. And no one even thinks about that. I know because I know handicapped children personally, and it's not a good feeling. And I don't know when it's ever going to change, if it's ever going to change, because everyone looks at everyone, okay, basketball time or football time or run around circle time. You know, a child could have a handicap with a leg or an arm or whatever.
I have to tell you that I have to give credit to our gym teachers. I know children that have been handicapped in wheelchairs, and they're still in my life, and I've seen them on our fields. I've seen them during our football games be allowed to go on the field with us. Me and Mylene had a couple of kids. I mean, they really do go out of their way to try to make every child feel like they can do what they can do. There are kids who are not handicapped, who are just not athletic, that unfortunately maybe will get a basketball and be like, what do you want me to do with this? Right. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I respect it, but I also think that I think our gym teachers go out of their way to try to make sure that every student is already working up to their potential. What's one kid's potential might not be the other. Maybe you're good at basketball, maybe I'm good at volleyball.
Right.
You know?
I understand what you're saying, but I just want, you know, I've seen it, and I know, you know, it's emotional. It's pretty emotional for the kids that don't want to be embarrassed in front of their peers because they can't do it. That's all I'm trying to say.
And Ms. Kennedy, to your point, and Ms. Napolitano-Ferno, to your point, I've also seen incredible inclusive efforts on the part of teachers and children in our physical education settings and in our classroom settings. And this is actually a case in point with reference to the particular case that we are talking about here. So I know that that work is happening in our schools, I think I agree with you, Ms. Napolitano-Ferno. I think it's important that we highlight all of the efforts that the teachers and children are putting forth to demonstrate that type of inclusivity toward their peers.
Well, that's like the unified basketball. I love unified basketball. It's now one of my favorite sports at Connecticut, and I can't wait this year to see what they're doing. I know Mr. Mallory and Mrs. O'Hara both told us that they have something in mind for had advocated to try to have something brought down to the middle schools so that the special needs kids that get to middle school can also enjoy something like our Unified. Because the Unified is beautiful. Actually seeing the very athletic kids hand off a ball to give to a child that maybe isn't as athletic, it's just so nice to see. The kindness that goes on is beautiful. That's my favorite thing here. Honestly, great program.
So, Ms. Poppy, I know when my children were at Boston, we had a few children that had some challenges, and I've always felt that the students, the staff, treated these children beautifully. Like, I don't want to say the child's name, but he was treated like a rock star in the building. Like, everybody knew him. He had such a connection to the staff, down to the custodial staff. But putting that aside, I know Boston, I don't know if they still do it. I know children that would give up their lunch period, and they had the buddy program where they would sit in the room and hang out with them during their lunch periods. And they were able to have these children make connections. And are we still doing any of that?
I would have to verify that with Mrs. O'Hara. I don't know whether any of that changed because of COVID. And so I will check into that and get back to you, but that sounds like a wonderful, wonderful program or opportunity for kids.
It really was great, and I know the children, again, my daughter's graduated, a few years now, but I know the children that were involved in the program, it was a give and take on both sides. They got something out of it, and it was voluntary that they would give up their lunch period. They could have played outside with their friends. They chose to be in that room and to make connections there, and I thought it was spectacular. I'm hoping that, I understand maybe COVID stopped a few things, maybe we can revisit that again, because that would also make children feel a little more included and special, I think.
Mylan.
My gut is it might have stopped, and I don't know, and I'm not going to really say, but I know an autistic child on the spectrum, but in the classroom, and it wasn't the case for her. And she didn't have any friends, and she would cry. And there was no program that really included her. So I like what Marlon has to say about this. And if you could look into it, Mrs. Poppy, maybe something like that.
I sure can.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sycamore did something similar to the buddy program, and it was great to see the kids do that. So I second Mylan.
Thank you.
Okay, Jackie, Wellness Day?
No, that's all.
Oh,
I think it's me and Marisol. Marisol, you want to go first?
Sure. So Connecticut High School did a wellness day where the children were able to come out one period throughout the day. And they had stations set up so they could teach them about mental health. They could teach them how to eat healthy lifestyle. I just wanted to take a second to thank everyone that took the time to put it together. Nicole Coogan, Eileen McAlpine, Karen Malinowski, Jess Monahan, Kat Iadanza, the social workers, and the secretary in the Wellness Suite. Great job. They got 24 local businesses to come out and show support and volunteer their time and their resources for the children. There was guide dogs there. It was fantastic. We also had Barbara Martorelli and Katie Roser, who also helped out, so we appreciate. Thank you to Mr. Moran for also making it happen. It was a great event.
So a few years ago, I want to say it was 2.5 years ago, I went to the library for a mental health wellness day. And who did I see? But Superintendent Dr. Adams, who we made, what was it, the JAWS? Stress JAWS together. We could really use them on the school board right now. But we did have those stress JAWS, and it was such an awesome, awesome event that I remember going up to Ms. Santos and going up to Mrs. Coogan and saying to both of them, because they were there, that how great this would be if it was in our schools. That it was because they were doing it at the library, and although a lot of kids went. It wasn't the amount of kids that got to enjoy what went on here at the high school. What went on here at the high school was amazing. Walked around, saw the adorable dog, and then all of a sudden I saw Brian, and there was the big dog. They had a giant dog that was walking around. It was like unbelievable. And then they ended up having, there was a long line for those little Sobels, I think it was. It was like
Acai bowls.
acai, that's what it is. They had those, and I couldn't believe the kids were all lining up.
Sobel was fantastic. They went back to Sobel all day long to get refills so that every kid was able to get a sample of their acai bowls.
They were amazing. They had people there giving out brownies. They had people there doing mindfulness and doing yoga. It was incredible to see. I went into the one gym and the kids were doing push-ups. It was awesome. It was awesome to see, and the kids were really engaged. It was like a fun day of learning, and that's what it should be. And I got to give credit to the YFS office because I believe they're the ones that they pretty much put it together, the PPS. So great job by PPS, YFS, all of the social workers, all of the administration that was involved, all of the teachers, the guidance counselors, because I saw the guidance counselors were in there. It was just incredible. Every piece of staff that helped out, thank you so much. I really hope to see that every year. I hope that's something that they do annually, because that was incredible, and I really think the kids got something out of it.
I think that's what, when I spoke to Ms. Coogan, that's what she said. She hoped to make it an annual event.
That would be great, fantastic.
Yeah, I want to conclude as well. I went to the later part of that day, and I thought it was great. The kids seemed very engaged in a lot of the stations that were set up. I bought a few things, succulents, I believe they're called. Hopefully, I'll keep them alive.
I got to go to the high school tomorrow to get them. I didn't even know they had them.
Yeah, it was in the back. It was in the back table, so hopefully I can keep them alive. But I thought the kids and staff did a tremendous job. So I want to say thank you as well.
I also have to say it was awesome to see the administration was with the kids they had like the little massage seats. It was hysterical. I just thought the kids looked like they were having fun. The staff looked like they were having fun. It was just a great all around. So great job by everybody.
Class size, that would be Jackie.
Okay, class sizes. I'm going to apologize because last meeting, I don't know how I missed it, but I did. I thought that we said we were going to keep it at 22, 23 max. I would never, not in a million years, have agreed to 25. So if I did vote yes, it was an oversight on my part because looking at the budget guidelines, I must not have seen the 25 when we spoke about it because, like I said, I wanted to see 22. We all know I really want to see 18, 19, but I get it. I can't always have what I want, and we have to do things that are fiscally responsible. But at the same time, some of these numbers, I'm glad to see that most classrooms have 18, 19, 21. The problem that I have is when I look at this, I say, oh, look, for instance, Cherokee Kindergarten, 82, and I saw the note on the bottom.
Ms. Napolitano, can I just stop you for a quick second? Because I do have this as a presentation. I could put it up as you're talking about it.
Then I'll save it.
No, it's not to save. It's just so you have it on the screen so everybody can see
Oh, sure.
what you're talking about.
I just wanted to jump on Jackie. I think the misunderstanding you might have had, we discussed budgets going forward, that if we're too frivolous now, and that's why I think you voted the way you did, because if we're too frivolous now, Mylan had pointed that out, we're going to pay in a couple of years. So that's why I think you changed your vote to have to agree to the higher size. I personally like the 22 from K to 3 and 25 and 4 and 5 for the simple reason they get a TA up there. I would have prefer a TA than I would 2 less kids.
Here's the issue. Linda had said to me, Dr. Adams had said that they were having problems even getting getting additional aides. So that's another issue that we have to deal with. So I just feel like if you're going to have 25 kids in a class, and let's just say we start out, I'm just going to say we start out with 24, 25 kids in a class for a 4th or 5th grade class. My biggest problem is that what about these kids that need intervention? What about these kids that are undiagnosed? What about the kids that they don't fall on special education side and they don't fall?
Don't they get a TA?
No, I'm saying kids that are undiagnosed. I know this personally because I dealt with it with my own child. I'm saying to you, it's very hard when you have a child that doesn't fall on special ed and doesn't fall on general ed. Can't be an inclusion because you're exempt because you're disqualified because of issues you have that are not as severe enough to be special ed. So what I'm saying to you is, in that case, when you have these kind of children in the classroom, now you put them in a classroom and there's 25, maybe a kid moves here, and now they move into that class. Now we're at 26.
I thought we had to have a TA, which was.
Jesse, can you advance one slide, please?
But what I'm saying to you is, I understand what you're saying, Lee, I agree with you. We said we want a TA over 23, but that hasn't always happened. So you have 25, 26 kids in a class, and now a teacher, let's just say a teacher has 3 or 4 kids that are undiagnosed. Because not everybody's kids get diagnosed because they are high energy. You know, we don't always know that that's what it is, or that that's something that maybe is just borderline. Either way, I just feel like class sizes, if they're smaller, it has been known that it's better for class achievement. It's better for, especially after a pandemic.
Anytime, small class sizes, but, you know, let's just hit the numbers.
Okay.
I would go the small class sizes, but I would like to hear, you know, 4 years down, I don't want to start cutting programs because we don't have enough money and raise class sizes.
I don't disagree with you, but here's what I suggested. When they told me that it could be 100,000, and Reg, I apologize. I'm gonna have you I just want to tell her this. If you figure it out, and I was told that if we went down to the number I wanted, it was going to be $100,000 to $200,000 expenditure that we were going to have to come up with. And here's what I don't understand. While I am all for programs, and since I've been on the board, I've advocated for more programs, I just want to know what programs work and which don't, which is what I'm going to be leading up to in my next. I'll wait on that for the communication and stuff. We really need to find out which programs work and which don't. If a program only has 2 kids in it, I don't want those 2 kids not to be able to be in a program, but maybe we could ask them and ask other children, what would you rather see? Maybe this program isn't working. Maybe it's just they're not interested anymore. Kids aren't interested, or they're doing sports or something else. Maybe we could find a program that they are interested in and gravitate more to that, even if it means taking 2 programs and putting them together into something new. I just feel like, when was the last time we took a real look at our clubs and our programs? And I've asked for that.
Clubs are constantly looking at.
Well, I've asked for that. I have asked for that in the past. And I said, I want to know, what is the amount of children in it? I don't ever want to take a program away from a kid, ever. But if only one child's in that program, maybe we could say to that child, hey, you like computer classes? I'm using that for instance. You know what? Maybe we'll try this, a graphic design and computer class that this kid likes, and this kid wants art. Maybe put them together and find something that it's, you know, see if the teachers can work it out, or ask them and see what they think. I just feel like that's the next thing I'm going to be bringing up. The Community Committee Advisory Committee, that's what that is. I wanted to talk about having a community committee, an advisory committee that had children, teachers, parents, just to have everybody involved and say, what can we do? Which programs work, which don't?
Well, I think administration has to tell us that. Then you can start with the committee,
well, I'm saying
what is a better program. And that's why I'm going to go to Hopau here coming
I'm going
too.
with you.
And I want to go into the city to see what type of audio and technology programs that are being offered as well.
I don't ever want to cut an art program or a music program, especially since our music department is fantastic, as we saw with the play. You never want to see that, especially seeing all those kids on stage and how excited they were. So I would never want to hurt any program, but at the same time, you have to look at programs that are not working. If they're not working and they're not being implemented the way they were supposed to be, they were established to do, then what is the purpose of keeping them and using that money when we could use that money?
We can ask the superintendent to start tonight, the board, that she could look into all our programs. They've been checking the different, not the programs, they've been checking extracurricular activities for a long time. But it's good to continue checking that, because if you leave it, don't do it for a couple of years, we lose it.
Well, because I look at it like this: the 100,000 or 200,000 it would take to keep our numbers down in classrooms, okay, for that amount of money, I say, look around and see where we can cut money and not hurt anyone. Okay, where can we move money around? Because class sizes are the one thing that directly affect a child's, it actually affects children directly. So if
No,
you're,
I'm not disagreeing with you, I just,
So,
to be.
I know that we have to be fiscally responsible, I
That's,
understand.
that's.
But I'm
that's
saying
a big
if we,
discussion
right, if we
about
look
that.
at the money, I'm just saying, and I'm using this, and I understand that he's gonna go over it, but I'm just saying, if you looked at this and I read this, and it says 82, I'm just using this as an example, 4 sections for kindergarten in Cherokee. I'm sorry, but there's gonna be more kids that enroll. We need to cut that to 5. That's gotta go to 5, and even if it's 15 kids in a class, it's
Well,
kindergarten.
that's what's gonna happen,
But
some
that,
classes will have 10.
there is an additional teacher. Right now, we're staffing for the students that we have, but as you can see from the note on the bottom that Mr. Kolahifar put in,
Right.
we have an additional teacher in the budget right now because we know this is gonna go up.
Right, and I feel the same way about Sycamore 4th grade and 5th grade Slocum.
Sycamore 4th grade is very stable, because we look at the numbers over time, and Sycamore 4th grade is very stable. And what was the other one that you were worried about?
Is Slocum 5th grade. I just don't understand why, if we put 2 more, if we broke that one more time, you're talking about adding 3 classes is what I'm looking for.
So that's $300,000. Because it's about $100,000 every teacher. And what we have to remember is a lot of these buildings are, as you call them, bursting at the seams. We have to look to make sure that we can fit all these people in the building. And 23 in a 4th grade class is a very nice size. Well, I know you wanted 22, but 23 and if you get down to 17 in a 3rd grade class where the number and breakage is not, like if we look at idle hour, there's 34 students. We're obviously not going to leave 34 in a class. So when you break that into 2 classes, it's 17. 4th grade at 23 is really a solid number.
But is it equal equity across district? When we have John Pearl, and I'm going to use it because it's here, and we got 3rd grade, 15, 16 in 2 sections. 4th grade, 2 sections, 13, 14. So Sycamore should have kids 23, 24 in a class for Pearl to have 13, 14. It's not against Pearl. It's really the problem we have in our district, and I have brought this up too, you know. I understand that I will make people angry by saying this, but it needs to be said. We may need to redistrict at some point. We may need to see, I know for myself, I would rather, and I know I'm just one person, but I would prefer as a parent to have my child in a smaller class in a different building than have 13 in one school and 25 in the other. How is that fair? If I was a teacher, I would be jockeying to try to get to John Pearl and work the 4th grade. Am I wrong? I mean, I'm being honest here. Wouldn't you rather, you could do so much more as a teacher. I mean, and I'm not a teacher and I'm saying this, but you could do so much more in a classroom with 13, 14 kids.
Definitely.
Individualized teaching, individualized learning.
Well, same with, if you have 2 kids at home or 10 kids at home, it's no different,
So if I could.
Well, it is, I couldn't deal with 10 kids. 10 little measly, come on.
So if I can interject for a second, one of the benefits that I believe Linda can obviously speak more to this, is that we have the preschool program, which helps us identify children before they even come into our kindergarten programs. It's nice that we work closely with them. So if any child in need, there's early intervention services that are provided. So while, yes, I understand the need to have the smaller classrooms, the early intervention is very critical at 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, to provide the intense services that are needed. Again, when we're asking for stuff, you have to understand too, at some point in time, you're gonna cut a program, and either you're gonna hurt taxpayers, where they're gonna have their bills go increase. You may potentially hurt children because we have to cut a program. Eventually, we're gonna have to cut staff with all this kind of spending. So I do appreciate you wanting very reasonable class sizes. And I have to agree with Dr. Adams. I think 23, 24 in the 5th grade class is suitable, because at that point, we hope that children have already been identified And if children that do need services, they're getting pulled out for the additional services. Am I correct, Linda? So I'm gonna say it. Listen, in a perfect world, I would love smaller classrooms. But fiscally, and that's what I feel my role on this Board of Education is to be, is fiscally responsible to my community. I can't get behind 18 in 5th grade. I can't get behind that.
Well, see, here's the thing. I don't believe that in kindergarten, you are going to see the problems that you see in 2nd and 3rd grade. If you really look into it extensively, they say that most children that have the most issues that are on the spectrum and they are not ones that you're going to be able to, like the ADD or ADHD that's undiagnosed. Those are coming out in 2nd and 3rd grade. So I disagree that in kindergarten, you're going to be able to address that. I also think that kids who have neurological tics, kids that have things that are of a different nature, they don't always present themselves until they're in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. At which time, we're talking about if you have more kids in a classroom, there's going to be learning and behavioral problems. There's going to be peer problems. There's going to be socialization problems. If you make a smaller class to begin with, and again, I'm looking at it more too, that we're on the back of the pandemic. So we already have children that have fallen behind. It's been, I did some research and it says that not for nothing, but if you did smaller class sizes, it says that the smaller the class sizes is like taking a class that's 25 and bringing it down to 17 is actually giving those 17 kids 3 months additional instruction.
No, I'm looking at this chart. I don't see where any school is stressed out. Idle has one class of 24 in 5th grade, and everyone else has a lot less. So are you saying Idle should cut that in half to make it 12?
No. Leah, I'm looking at Slocum, 5th grade. I'm looking at Sycamore, 4th grade. And I'm looking at Cherokee kindergarten. And the reason I'm looking at these, and I'll tell you why, I don't even like 22. I told you. I had to agree because that's what you guys wanted. I told you 18, 19 is what I like. But fiscally, we can't do it. I get it. But what I'm saying to you is you're going to have a kindergarten class, and hopefully that one you said could potentially be cut anyway. But if it's already at, like here we are at Slocum, right? We're already at 22, 23. So we're at a class of 23. 2 kids move there, you're at 25. And that does happen. Or what happens if a parent says, you know what, this isn't working for me, I really need that teacher, and moves into a different class, which I've seen happen as well. Then what? Now you have a teacher with 26 and another teacher with 20. So that's also an issue.
So Jackie, I agree with you that smaller class sizes is good, is great. But Mylan, I agree with you also. We have to be fiscally responsible and think about the strain it would put on the community, on our taxes. I would love to have my kids in a class with 15, 16, but it's just not fiscally sound. It just can't be done sometimes.
So Linda, and I know that a couple of years ago, I brought to you that Syosset has teachers that did a little bit more specialized with math and science or reading of the children that's falling behind. I know that you started to do something before the pandemic. Did we still continue that where there's children that needed just a little bit more service? The general ed, they just need a little help on the reading or the math. Can you just talk a little bit more to that?
I'm going to throw that to Mrs. Poppy because, yes, we have programs of RTI where we push in and pull out. We have programs of math tutors. We have reading programs. We have a plethora of help for kids who might need a little bit of additional help.
So then why would I want to go to classes of 18 in the 5th grade? So if you're providing that service, that's an additional teacher with exposure to that child to give more help. But yes, Ms. Poppy, I would like to hear further if you can.
I think Jackie's referring to children that haven't been given extra services, that if you have a smaller class size.
These are for general ed kids that are maybe just struggling with math and just getting a little bit extra help.
Right, and Jackie's also, to her point, she's also saying if you have smaller class sizes, the teacher is able to quicker identify that a child is struggling.
Absolutely. And here's the one thing I need to know.
Ms. Poppy was going to talk about. Okay, Ms. Poppy.
So I suppose I concur with what Dr. Adams said. We offer an array of services to help general education students as well, to provide RTI, response to intervention services for them in both a push-in and a pull-out model. So depending on the child's need, the building will assess that need and deliver that support either inside the classroom directly with the student, or it will be the student will be pulled out and the service will be rendered in a separate setting.
So now, at each of our buildings, we have a specialized person for to help the needs of that, or do we have two people that are teachers that help the needs of those students?
Depending on the child's need, we offer reading specialists, we offer mathematics specialists.
And these people don't have a classroom. These teachers don't have a classroom. This is what
They have a
do.
caseload.
So I want you guys to pay attention to what she's saying, because there is somebody, in addition to your main teacher, there is another full teacher to provide additional services for children that they see that may be struggling in either math or science or reading or whatever it is. So when you want to put a class of 18 for 5th grade, but we're offering all this additional services, I mean, that's a lot of staff. And
Here's the problem. It doesn't, I gotta tell you, I don't know if you guys have done the research or looked into it, but not every student that is not diagnosed, or like I said, is on the border, is not doing well. I recall, and you know this is true, long before I was on the school board, I had to advocate for my own child to get services, and it took years. And I remember speaking to the superintendent and being told, it's very hard, Jackie, because if your child is getting 90s and 95s and is also taking the tests for special ed and getting 15s and 17s and all these like higher numbers, they're not going to get the services before a child that's falling behind. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that child doesn't need the services too. So this is something that is a bigger conversation that at some point we need to work on, because there are kids across district that need services, and we just need to figure out how do we identify them sooner if we're going to make bigger class sizes. Because bigger class sizes, in my opinion, is one of the ways that you're going to see children, and I hate to use this saying, but I'm going to, you're going to see kids fall through the cracks and they shouldn't. No kid should ever fall through the cracks in elementary school.
So if a child is scoring 90 and above, so obviously educationally they're doing well. So it's not that piece you're looking for. So you're looking for an emotional piece, which then would be a YFS worker or a social worker or whatever it is. It's not an educational piece.
But what I'm saying to you is a YFS or social worker, my understanding, doesn't work in the classroom.
No, they don't.
So they're not going to be with let's say, the 25 children. So 25 children are in a classroom now, and a child maybe there's a child that actually keeps it under wraps. Maybe because there are children that I have been told personally from teachers, I would never know this child had this, I would never know this child had that. This is the happiest kid, running around, smiling, doesn't present any indicators until you get a little deeper.
So then then what to say these children are not chameleons until, say, middle school?
Maybe they are, but my feelings are, I've personally seen children in elementary school in smaller classes get diagnosed sooner than not. That's what I've seen. I've seen it not just with my own, but with many other of my friends and people that speak to me or have called me to advocate or whatever. I have absolutely seen it. And I've done research. Like, you could just do the research on it and look it up. It'll tell you.
No, I've done the research on it, and I definitely understand your points. You make very valid points.
I just look at it's $100,000 and it's $200,000.
I just heard 300,000.
Well, that's that's if you cut 3 classes. But I'm going to tell you.
You know what? Can we just?
Leah, just one more thing. I promise. Just one.
Okay, then let Rizzo.
Yeah, promise.
Okay.
This is only because I want to throw this out there. So, for instance, how are these numbers even legit? I'm only asking you, okay? I'm playing devil's advocate here. Because if Slocum right now, and I'm using Slocum, okay? If their, let's say, kindergarten classes right now are at 22, 23, how is it that next year, these are the children that are going to be moving up, are now going to be 3 sections of 15? Do we only have 2 sections? How many sections right now are at Slocum in kindergarten. My understanding is it's at least 3.
I would believe that it is 3. I
Okay.
don't know that for sure. I have to look at it.
Okay, so now, if Slocum, and I'm just throwing this out there, is 3 classes of 22, 23 right now in kindergarten, it's impossible that next year, if 20 kids aren't moving, then we have 3 classes of 15. But I don't understand how that could even be if we have 3 classes of 22, 23 this year. And
So let me just explain how these numbers came about. February 18th, I received an enrollment report. I receive it at the end of the month, every month. So at the end of March, I'm going to update this chart. The enrollment report shows what the sections are and the enrollment count is as of that day. So on February 18th, there were 45 kindergarten kids over in Slocum. What I do with this report is I just roll everybody forward 1 year, and then I make a projection or a guess based on what has happened in prior years to kindergarten. Cherokee is at 82. In prior years, if you remember last year, we were at like 40 or something, some really low number, historically low, because Cherokee's kindergarten has topped 100 plus in some years. So I left it at 82 this year. We did continue to keep 1 additional section in kindergarten because we know that number will go up. But as of right now, these are the enrollments, or I should say, as of February 18th.
well, then, can you get me, in the next week or so, I'd like to see, I mean, I probably have it at home, last year's, but I'd like to know right now, real class sizes. How many kids are in Cherokee in kindergarten, and how many sections, how many kids? I really just want a printout of the exact, you might have it, perfect. Because some of these numbers are impossible, because I'm looking at old classes and what they are, and there's no way, like I said, there's no way that, and I'm using Slocum, that first grade next year could be 45 kids if this year is 3 sections of 22, 23.
There are 2 sections this year.
Okay, and how many are there?
There are, right now, let me see, 21, 22, there are 46 kids, there are 2 sections in Slocum.
So 1 kid we know is not coming back or moving or something.
So their
Projection.
projection is we're actually adding a class to make the class size under 22, which was your request.
This is what I'm asking you, though. So we have 45. That's what I'm asking you.
Right.
Okay. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
Because if we have 3 in some of these classes, that's why I need the real numbers, because these,
Those are the projected enrollment. These are the
right, but what I'm
projected
saying is
enrollments.
giving us this without giving us this year's numbers shows,
So you'd rather see it this way?
I want to see it with everything, yeah, I want to see it like that. I want to be able to say, okay, we definitely have 31 in first grade, because in kindergarten, we had 32 or 33, and 2 may have moved or whatever the case.
Okay, so we will.
Because right now, these numbers don't seem right to me, because I'm looking at it, now, I gotta ask you something. Are these classes just general ed?
Okay, we're going to move on, Jen.
Yes.
Okay, so there's also special ed?
Yes.
So maybe that's where the 3rd class is.
Okay, Rizzo, would you want to discuss this? Any more questions?
I think the board did a very nice job of analyzing this information. I don't think I need to discuss it any further.
Okay. So, you're talking about communication now, Jackie?
Okay, all of these are supposed to just be 1 bullet, so it's gonna be communication, public comment, dialogue, response to community input. Those 3, and then the community committee advisory committee was something that I'd like to advocate for. I think we need a community committee advisory committee to start looking into the future of what things they think we need. And then you could really actually get parent input, educator input. I really think it would be a wonderful thing to have here, so I'm advocating for that. As for communication, public comment, dialogue, 2 years, when I got on the board 3 years ago, it's almost 3 years, the first 2 years, we allowed public comment dialogue. I understand that, Dr. Adams, you had said to me that this isn't how it's normally done, but it was done like that for 2 years. I feel like the community got used to it, and I actually think they appreciated the transparency. So if somebody comes up to the podium and asks a simple question, I do not understand why we don't answer them. I think we should. I think if it's something we can answer and we can make it brief, I think it's something we should answer. I think by not answering people and just sitting here with stone faces is making people annoyed and frustrated. And I get it. I get it, and I think they're right. So I know that when I used to come up here and I used to advocate and I used to speak at the mic, I wanted you guys to answer me. I wanted you guys to, even if it was just, thank you, it'll be looked into, we'll get back to you within 48 hours, whatever it is, people want to be heard. I don't feel like we're hearing them. So I'm advocating for us to go back to where we respond to the community input. I understand if we're an educator on the board and gets asked a question that they do not have the answer to, we are all human. I understand that. We can just say, we will look into that and get back to you within 48 hours. Maybe leave paper up there and they leave us their email. I mean, I just think we need to do a better job of getting back to the public. And I want to make this also clear to everybody who's out there. If an email is sent to the board, to the entire board is supposed to answer it, right? As one, though, as a unity. So if you really want an answer, and I'm using myself as an example, if you want an answer from me, you have to email me personally. Not that you should really be emailing the board, but I also think people are unaware of that. That when they send an email to the board, we don't send them anything back. Or Jesse sends them just a receipt, like I received it.
Yes, and it's been shared.
Maybe we could come up with a way that the 5 of us board members can work together to write something, and then you as the board president, send it out to everybody. Would that be something that you guys would be willing to work on?
So Jackie, this is something that I've been complaining about, I guess, since I got on the board. It's awkward and just strange to me to not respond to an email. I've said, how did the public get a response? I was told that the board president is the one that responds to emails, and that's how it should be done. But it's weird to not respond. It's weird to sit here stone-faced, not answering the public. It's odd.
Linda, would you please explain?
So I think that's something that the board, I know that you're looking at putting together a training for the board. In order for the board to write back to folks who have written to them, legally, the board must put together something in writing and then put a resolution on a board agenda that you approve the writing and you approve sending it. So that's why it seems like that there are no there are no responses coming, because the board has a whole process that they must go through in order to answer something as a board. And I think that's something you might want to work with Jamie, what that might look like. There are some boards of education who take all of their emails, their district clerk takes all of their emails, holds them until the board meeting, speaks about them in the board meeting, and then the board responds by having the district clerk write something and then put something on the agenda as a resolution to send it. But I think that's something that the board as a whole should work on with the protocols that I know that you're going to work on with NYSBA when they come to do the board retreat.
I just think it would be good, and I appreciate you telling the public that so they understand, because I do feel like people are upset with us and frustrated and feel like we're ignoring them. So everybody knows every email that comes to the school board gets filtered from our district clerk or from the superintendent to the school board. We are reading every email. We are having discussions about the emails. I try personally for myself, I try to add things to board discussions so that you get your answer through that way. So if you do have something you want to bring up to the board, if you want to try to do it that way, it's fine, because we will bring it up during board discussions if we can, and then maybe you get the answer that way if it helps you. But I wanted people to understand that we're not responding. I'm personally not supposed to respond when you send an email to the entire board, because you're talking to the entire board and I can't speak for all 5 members. If you send an email to me personally, I will answer you. Okay? I don't know that I can answer you, I'm sure everybody will, but like overnight. But not as a member of the board. As a community member and as a parent, I can say something as well as the other board members can.
So you have to change policy if you want discussion at a board meeting, but you got to remember, the board meeting can go on for hours. How long do you want the answer to be? You know, I mean, questions are asked, maybe 5 people ask the same question, or the answer is too long, or there's 50 people in the audience, and everyone has a question, we don't leave until 2 o'clock in the morning. People have to go to work the next day.
I respect
I'm
that.
just telling you, there's not a scenario, but if you want to make the change, bring it to the policy committee, then bring it to the board.
Well, I am very lucky because I am part of the policy committee. Yes.
The board approves it.
I will absolutely. Mr. Colifar, I would like to do that at the next policy meeting. I want to add that. And I also want to add for all board members, this was something that I heard East Quogue does and West Hampton. I heard that they have a policy, which I really like. We are allowing people to give their children, if they were a board member, their diploma. I would like to have it actually written in a policy the same way that they do, so that people don't have to ask the board. If you served as a board member, you can give your child their diploma when the time comes. If it's 20 years from now, if it's 10 years from now, if it's 3 years from now, whatever it is. And that's been done, that is being done in other districts. It wasn't like I made it up. I went out to lunch with one of them and they told me. And I appreciate that, Lee. I think, and I agreed with you. We all did. That's a nice thing to do. What you did was nice. But I'm saying, wouldn't it be nice to just have a policy? Because we're all not going to be on the board forever. So when we're not on the board, maybe other board members will say, no, we're not going to do that. So I just said, if we make a policy, it will be a nice policy for every board member that ever is on the school board in Connecticut. If you have a child who's graduating, you give your child their diploma. I don't think you should have to ask the board for that. It should be part of the very few things that the board members get. They don't get much, trust me.
I actually asked this board member that was a part of us if he would like to come give his daughter.
And I thought that was beautiful. I'm 100% on board.
But, you know, I don't have a problem with that. I didn't know it had to be policy, though.
It's a policy in West Hampton / East Quogue.
I have added that to be looked at the next policy committee meeting.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions on the consent agenda?
Mr. Allen's going to give an update.
Oh, Mr. Allen, I'm sorry. You have an update to give us first?
I think he's answering.
It's regarding solar panels. It's that.
Yeah, this is the question that I had asked about solar panels. And I took your answer and I copied and pasted it onto social media. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I appreciated it. It was good.
So the question came up, I believe it was early last week, regarding the savings associated with the energy performance contract. And I've shared multiple times, I think the first time was in December when I came forward to the Board of Education from the Facility Committee and provided an update as to the conversations and the findings, that if we go forward with a capital project and it gets approved in May, that we have a way of paying for that capital project using the retiring debt service and the savings from the energy performance contract. The energy performance contract has 2 main components that the savings can be easily tracked to. The interior lighting that was all changed from to LEDs, as well as the solar carports and solar arrays that you see at all the buildings. Those projects are saving the district approximately $1 million a year. So by utilizing that and the retiring debt service, we are able to present to the community a $60 million capital project. So I'm sure it's gotten missed in some of the conversations, but I think there's been multiple conversations relating to this. I did share it myself a couple of times. I know that we had Mike Lagercio from Unistat come in. He provided the board with a debt service schedule, and I piggybacked off of that and shared the savings from the energy performance side of it. So those were the mechanisms by which I was proposing moving forward with the capital work. I don't know if that answers the question. Okay.
Thank you very much. And thank you for answering me so swiftly the other day, too. I appreciate it.
I'm going to go back. If there's no one has any question on the consent agenda, we're going to move forward. I'm not going to read the statement. That's not on the consent, that's not on the consent agenda. It'll be on the second discussion item. Okay, I'm going to move on to personnel matters. I need a motion and a second to approve the instructional and non-instructional personnel items as presented. I need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any ayes down here? Any?
Mylan, Jackie?
Motion so carried. So now I'm going to move to the consent agenda. I need a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 19. I need a motion.
So there were 2 items, if you guys refresh your page, these items were discussed in executive session. If you'd like, I will read the items out loud, since they are new. Would the board like me to do that?
Yes, please.
So, Resolution 18 that was added reads, be it resolved, the Board of Education accepts the superintendent's resignation for the purpose of retirement effective June 30th, 2023. And Resolution 19 reads, resolved that the Board of Education approves the request for defense submitted by a member of the Board of Education identified in confidential Schedule A in accordance with and as set forth in Education Law Section 3811 in connection with a notice of petition dated March 17th, 2022, and confers upon the member of the board the benefits and protection of Section 3811 of the Education Law as applicable. The district shall only indemnify the board member to the extent required by law. And it is further resolved, the Board of Education hereby appoints the law firm of Sokoloff Stern, LLP, as special counsel to represent the named member of the Board of Education in connection with the notice of petition at the agreed upon fee for attorneys of $265 per hour.
Okay? You have
Thank
that?
you, Jesse.
So I need a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 19.
Motion.
I need a second.
Second.
Trustee Napolitano-Ferno, was there something you wanted to bring up in addition to that?
That's the other, that's the YFS.
No, that's coming next week.
No,
Yes.
clerical.
Yes.
Yeah, I want an additional, no, they added additional, but I want not an additional position. I want a full-time additional
I
position.
thought that we're going to discuss that next.
Not a half, not 2 halves. I want a full-time position.
That was going to be discussed at the next meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
no, I thought it wasn't, because Wendy said that we were going to vote on it tonight. It's over there.
What I had said was, with consent from the board, and this really is more of an exec matter, if the board in exec
All right,
gives
well,
me
just-
authority, we can go ahead and hire a full-time position for PPS.
I want it to be, I think that that office has so much going on. We have given them so much extra work with COVID and everything else. As a matter of fact, Dr. Adams was laughing before because, right, you were laughing, looking at me. She was laughing and looking at me because another thing was added to that office. After I just said how much more stuff is going to get added. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So at some point, it becomes too much for one office. I firmly believe, and I am advocating up there with this board, to have a full-time position, clerical, added there, because I think it's a vested position then. If a person is there all day, the same person, I feel like it is more of one personnel, position, as opposed to making it two positions, whether it be half-time or whatever they want to do. I think it's one full is better.
Or you can look at it as one person could get burned out quickly versus two people that work part-time.
Right, and saves the district a little money, and they get more bang for the buck.
You guys can say no, that's what I'm advocating for. That office cannot be, we cannot keep on giving the PPS and their clerical people more and more work. More and more work. They just keep getting more and more work.
Mylan, I didn't hear what you said down here, I'm sorry. I need your microphone.
If you're hiring a full-time person, it means you have to offer them health insurance. So if that's a family, that's what, $32,000 in the top of a salary, and we're trying to cut back on added costs. So I understand why they made that decision to put it as two, so then it avoided the health insurance cost.
They don't have a lunch period, so they have someone there 4 hours and 4 hours. So I think,
Well, then I suggest that we look at that office and pull things away. Because I think that honestly, we could give some of the work from that office should go to central office then.
well.
Well, yeah, no, I think that's what should happen.
That's not
Because
really-
I think that should happen, because I think that if we can continue to give one office work upon work upon work, then I suggest we see at the top where there's room to give somebody more responsibilities and work. No, Mike,
COVID is over, so that's at least taken off of them. for
see,
the-
COVID's over. If COVID's over, are you kidding me right now? I'm sitting next to, and again, I don't care that you wear masks, you guys can wear masks, face shields, I don't care.
Our
I like choice, we all know this. But what I'm saying to you is you're saying that as you are actively protecting yourself. So what I'm saying to you is you have to realize COVID is not completely over. I mean, we're still dealing with it. We still have people in place to work on COVID responsibilities and the mandates and the guidelines.
You know, well, you know what, we can debate this all the time. I know you advocate for that department, and
I advocate because it's for mental health. I advocate because it's for mental health. I
But
advocate
we all advocate
because
for
it's
mental
for,
health.
you do. And I never said you don't. But you maybe should go visit the office and then you'll feel the way I felt.
well, they're gonna get more help than less, and it'll save the district $32,000.
But we should have given them more help a year ago. We shouldn't just keep shoveling more work onto the backs of these people, and yet not give it to anyone else.
Okay, I'm gonna ask.
Equal equity across district. I don't understand what's so difficult about
You
that.
do ask for a consent, okay. Okay, so I guess we need a consensus. You want to give PPS a person, 2 people, 4 hours each, or 1 full-timer? I'm going to start by saying, I'm going to go with Reza saying 2 part-timers, and she gets more help that way, and we save $32,000.
And I'm gonna say 1 full-timer, and if
Okay.
it changes and the work
I'm
load
for
goes
two, I'm for two.
I'm going with the recommendation of Reza as well, too.
Okay, so we have, okay, now we move on. Okay, we're moving on. I need a motion and a second for the consent agenda 2 through 19.
Motion.
Second,
I need to pull stuff for a separate vote.
okay?
Bear with me for a minute.
All right,
What is it? What's the numbers from?
2 through 19.
Yeah, the 2 on the end, I want separate votes.
18 and 19?
Yeah.
Okay? Two through 19.
Yeah.
Okay, I need a okay. All in favor? 2 through 17? Aye. Aye. Okay, now we'll go to number 18. Number 18?
No, 18, I'm a yes.
We need a motion and a second.
A motion.
Motion and a second.
Okay, motion,
Aye.
Aye.
Why'd
Yeah,
you
why'd
pull
you
it?
pull it?
I pulled it because I want to make sure that it's a separate vote. We don't have any issue with anything getting pulled, just leave it as a separate vote, okay? Just try.
Okay, now I need a motion to second for number 19.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, I want to put a cap on that, or I'm going to abstain. Because I don't, well, I can abstain. I can abstain. I'm not going to agree to spend district money for defense when we shouldn't even be dealing with this. What I think is,
Because the petition was filed, we are obligated as a board to defend her. So if we don't,
I'm not saying that, I'm saying we should put a cap on it, though. I mean, are we going to spend $100,000?
just because it shouldn't have happened, doesn't mean it didn't happen. It did happen, and now we have to deal with the repercussions of it. So that's what we're trying to figure out here. And if we don't choose this way, then, as we mentioned, other things could happen where it could cost the district even more money.
Okay. So all in favor?
There was no second, only a motion.
Oh, okay, I need a motion.
We
Motion.
need a second.
Second.
So we're not putting,
I'll second.
we're not putting any sort of cap.
No
All in
cap?
favor?
Wait a minute, there's,
What?
so,
I want to leave.
I'm struggling with this one. I understand what I was advised. I'm struggling with this one, because.
Mr. Sheehan, can you
Because I don't
elaborate?
like the fact this is an all or
Can we have
nothing.
the attorney speak to this, please?
So the question is, does the board want a quick executive session on this item?
No,
Because,
I
all right,
just want to know if I can put a cap on the spending.
Yeah,
Because
because,
this could
Okay.
potentially cost $100,000, $500,000. I mean, I don't know what this could cost. I
Yeah.
know what a lawsuit costs. It's not like this is going to be something that's going to be cheap.
and that's.
It'll probably cost a lot more if we
So-
don't use
so-
this person.
so my question
A
is,
lot more.
my question is,
Get a good attorney, I don't care.
So then.
so
you're telling
my
her to
question
spend-
is,
Can you let him finish?
so my question is, does the board want a brief executive session on this item so I can give the board legal advice in executive session? That's always my preference.
So-
Yes, I'm a yes.
So this could be unlimited, because that's what it sounded like to me. This could be unlimited.
Mylan, let's take us to executive.
Very simple, we just need to know if there's a cap or not. Can we put a cap on it or not? That's all I'm saying. Can we put a cap and then we revisit it if it hits the cap? That's all I want to.
Can we revisit this since it hasn't even been received yet?
So if I could have, again, my recommendation to the board right now is to have a brief executive session so I can answer this question in executive session because this is advice of counsel. And that would be my recommendation, a brief executive session, and I'll be brief, and we can come back to this item, so I can speak freely about this matter to the board.
I'm not going to hold people up. I want the communities here to be able to talk.
Yeah, but you make an excellent point.
So we'll just, you know what? Put on the record that we're voting yes at the advice of counsel, because by law, we have to vote yes, okay? But in doing so, we are reluctantly doing it and do not agree with there being an unlimited cap. There you go.
Yeah, I'm not
I'm
happy.
going to make that statement and I want it on the
Yeah,
record.
I want it
But
on the
what if
record.
we- what
I
if
want
we-
it on the record too, because this is all or nothing, and
So-
I'm not comfortable with that.
Mylan, what if we did the public comment, and then after public comment, we went to executive session, and then we came back and voted?
You're clapping, but we're spending we're spending your money, so you could clap all you want.
So-
I'm preventing from spending money, but if you want us to spend money, I'm trying to prevent that.
No, listen, let's just, why don't you try this one? I mean it. Can we do that? Can I just say, I'm a yes?
We'll table it. No, we're gonna table it.
So you can do two things. You can make a motion to amend it, to put a cap in, or you can, and see if that passes, or you can state, I can say to you that attorney's fees have to be reasonable in light of the, of the defense that they are required to.
And what's reasonable? What you're reasonable could be different from my reasonable.
I understand,
But if we can do that, that's fine. No, why can't we just do that, though? Just change, I like the, do you guys okay with amending the, listen, I don't want to pay taxpayer money.
I did not hear what you said.
Why can't we table this?
Why don't we table it and we'll talk about it?
So my recommendation, again, if you want to have a discussion about this in executive session, so I can give the board,
Do we have to vote, or can we abstain from this, since we have so many questions?
I feel like what we were told.
again, this discussion is appropriate for executive session, so I can give advice of counsel. You're asking me to give advice of counsel to the board in public.
You guys agree with doing the public comment and then going to exec and coming back and voting? Okay, fine.
Yeah, we'll table this until.
That took 10 minutes to get to. It should have taken 30 seconds, but okay.
I will now open the floor to, for public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a numbered card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard at the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president only. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. If members of the audience speak out of turn, the board may consider a recess until order is restored. Any specific questions asked will be answered by the appropriate party and posted to our district board docs page, which can be accessed through the district's website. If you have a specific question and would like an email follow-up, please complete the card on the podium with your name and contact information. Once completed, please provide to the district clerk. So let's just start with number 1.
Hello and good evening. Don't mind me, I'm a little nervous. It's my first time. I'm the father of 3 Connect Quad students. The great kids. Diversity is something that's been big in my life ever since I was little. I grew up listening from Jay-Z to Metallica, Leonard Skinner, all across the board. Unfortunately, a couple weeks back, there was an incident at my son's school where he was called the N-word on the playground. And I'm not looking for further. They pretty much handled the situation in the school to somewhat satisfaction. I would like to know if there's a protocol in place or a plan in place to help issues like this. I understand critical race theory is a red button topic, and that's not what I'm asking about. I'm asking about safety.
I'm going to just jump in. I'm not sure what you're talking about, nor is this the place to share that with your children, but I would like you to make an appointment to see our superintendent, sit down and air all your concerns, and she will then share them with the board in an executive session. Would that work for you?
Yes, that would. Thank you.
Okay, so if you want to leave your phone number with the superintendent or with the district clerk, she'll forward it to the superintendent so we can address your issues. I did tell him. You understand why I wanted you to speak to the superintendent, sir, correct? Okay.
I left my contact information. Should I leave any other information as to what it pertains to, or?
No, she'll call you tomorrow.
Okay, so
Yeah.
card here?
You can just give it, well,
If you could leave it face down on that table, I'll grab it after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Security doesn't want anyone coming.
Okay, number 2.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'm going to touch on a topic that Ms. Napolitano had brought up earlier in the discussion tonight involving accessible playground equipment for students and utilization of grant money. I believe you were most likely referencing my son, who attends Idlehour Elementary School. He does have a physical disability which limits his mobility, and he does have difficulty utilizing the equipment at Idlehour. Now, he's a sociable kid. He's not like some downtrodden poor soul that sits, friendless. But there are times when he's at recess that, due to his physical limitations, he does have difficulty participating with his fellow students and friends. And he has expressed at times some sadness in this matter, so it's frustrating for me as a parent to have to see a 5-year-old child be upset about this kind of thing. Now, I know that we're in the works of the process of sending an engineer and trying to rectify the situation. My frustration comes because my son, although this is his first year officially in the Idlehour School District in terms of being physically in one of the Idlehour schools, Connecticut schools, that he has been known to the district for some 2.5 years. Because since he was born with a physical disability, he has received early intervention services almost since the time he was born. And due to this, his situation had to be made aware to the board the district rather, for some time. So hearing that, this problem is newly arisen or is somehow unknown is a little bit hard to follow and understand, because, as I said, it's his first year physically in the school, but his condition and his situation has been known for probably close to 2.5 years. And I would just like to see this situation expedited, because, here it is now, we're in March. There's only maybe 3 months left in the school year. And, I would like to know if there is some kind of way of speeding this up so that he is able to enjoy the equipment with his friends. Because there's also been talks possibly of him maybe needing to be moved to another school for an inclusion classroom. And, if we can somehow make it so that no matter where he is, which I really want him to stay in Idlehour. Idlehour has been great for him. It's his home school. That's where his network of peer support and everything is for him. I really want to keep him there, because moving him out of that school would, I think, further cause some kind of, stress for him and, make his situation more difficult than it needs to be. But, okay. But if there's any way we can expedite his situation in rectifying.
I understand what you're saying, and John, I know he's working on it, and is there any way this can be expedited for this gentleman?
Okay. And just to clarify, like his limitation, I know he had mentioned, John had mentioned it was an upper body issue. That wasn't the
I understand the limitation. I have grandchildren with those types of limitations, and so I totally understand where you're coming from. I totally understand.
Okay, well, if that's all, I appreciate your time and understanding of the matter, and wish you all a good evening.
We're going to make it a priority.
Thank you.
Number 3.
Hello, good evening. Dr. Adams, congratulations. Good luck on your last year. I have a couple of small issues and then some major issues. The first one, if you can discuss it, talk to whoever you need to talk to. It's about juniors at the high school parking in the school parking lot. I don't see any reason why a junior, if they have a license from New York State telling them they're allowed to drive to school, why they shouldn't be allowed to drive to school. So hopefully you guys discuss that and we can get that changed. The next one is about, like Jackie, you brought up before about public comment. I liked everything you had to say. One suggestion or request, I know you can do it. If you can put the public comment right in the beginning of every meeting, that would be wonderful. It would probably be better for you guys, but it would also be better for the public. So if you can discuss that, that'd be great. Public comment at the very beginning of every meeting. The next two are pretty major issues. I was at the last board meeting where all the teachers were there and they were complaining, rightfully so, about their contract. I have some suggestions that would be very, that would put Connecticut in the positive direction, because right now, a lot of people feel there's been a black cloud hanging over us for quite some time now. The first one is for Ms. Kennedy. I know you served a long time, but my opinion and many others, it would be, I think, if you want to do the community a big favor and a plus for the community, we ask that you please resign immediately, so then this coming May, we could vote for 2 new people for the Board of Education. Also, all right, just my idea, I know it's a long shot, but if I was on the board currently, the teachers are asking for a contract, a good contract. I would offer them, and again, you don't have to listen to me, but if you offer them something major, something big that they want, let them have it, but make them promise to you that they have to get rid of Tony Felicio and Brad Lindell immediately. Immediately. I would sign anything away if they made that promise, because it's just a black cloud hanging over us. And it's about time we lift it, we get it out of here, and we move in the right direction. All right? So I know they're only my requests, and it's the truth, unfortunately. So hopefully you guys discuss it, and we could start making Connecticut climb higher and higher every year. Thank you.
Four.
Good evening. I was here a couple board meetings ago and spoke about the high school psychologist. He just stole a little bit of my thunder, but.
We can't talk about personnel, so.
I'm talking about the situation that he took public.
But you
I have
mentioned-
sent several communications, not only to the superintendent, but to the Board of Ed. Tonight's conversation, Jackie, that you brought up, explained a lot why I have not received responses. Linda, you did send me a response, somewhat satisfactory, and I understand that there are personnel issues, but what I want to know as a parent and a taxpayer is if this man is being held accountable for what he did. Is he being disciplined? Yes or no? I don't want the specifics. I don't need the specifics, but I'm not going to let this be.
I'm going to ask our attorney to address this, please.
Unfortunately, that is an issue that cannot be discussed in public. The issues of personnel are not appropriate for a public session discussion. So in terms of the response to your question, that's outside the scope of public session discussion.
I'm a taxpayer. I help pay his salary. So I believe that I have the right to know. I don't care the specifics of what is being done. I just want to know that something's being done.
I'm sorry, that the discussion of discipline of any specific individual employee is not appropriate for public session.
Okay. And Jackie, you had brought up that the board is not able to respond. Well, I did finally, after asking the board to respond, get a automated response from Lee Kennedy. I want responses from the board if we are going to add a stipulation to the contract that is currently under negotiation, under the grievance area, that board members, education, CTA board members cannot air their grievances in public like that. This man's in charge of the mental health of the students at this school, and he let them down with what he did. And we can't let this keep happening. To the gentleman that was before me, his point, this black cloud over this community has got to stop. They're toxic. Everybody wants to work together. These people are just toxic to this community. That's all I have to say.
Number 5.
Hi there, good evening. I just want to comment on a couple of things that were just spoken about tonight. First of all, about the class sizes. Obviously, Jacqueline, I completely agree with you. I know that it's not fiscally responsible. However, my child does go to Idle Hour. My child is one of the children in the kindergarten class. And at that age, it's very hard to get any of their attentions. And they have 2 in that class. And honestly, God bless the 2 teachers that handle my child and the other 10 rambunctious boys in there, because they all have a great time with it, but it's very hard for all of them. Secondly, my son, before going into the kindergarten class, I fought tooth and nail when he went to a private pre-K to get him services for speech therapy and occupational therapy. I wasn't advocating for occupational therapy. The school district thought it was a good thing at the time. Only since then, of course, he has regressed significantly because of COVID and mask mandates. But I don't think that going to bigger classroom sizes is a good idea, especially at that age. That's my oldest child. I'm not an educator. I don't know. I can only speak for my child and the other parents. I just don't think a class of 25 with 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds is a good idea anywhere. To your point as well, what you were saying about the classes to, I guess, alone classes to be with children that are, I guess, have more special needs, maybe like during a recess time or when they don't want to go out and play, but I don't know what that class was called that you referred to, Jackie. You were saying before, whenever there's a child, whether it's either like a handicap, or they have... Are
we referring to the buddy program?
The what?
The buddy program?
The buddy program. Yes, the buddy program.
I mentioned that.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I totally advocate for that. Again, my child is at Idle Hour. He has friends that are like that. He has a ton of energy. I would like him to go out and be more at recess, but he loves his friends at Idle Hour. And sometimes just being alone with them for 15, 20 minutes and doing a puzzle or playing with Play-Doh or something is good for him and them. And then there's just one other thing I would like to do with the whole, the teacher at the, whatever happened over there at the high school. I do think there needs to be some type of amendment or clause in the contract that if the taxpayers are paying your salary, I know that we can't talk about it, but I think it needs to be spoken about whenever it comes to reprimanding these teachers and faculty members that come up and, as parents have said, put this black cloud over. I mean, unless you're being paid for, some other way, but when parents are paying your salary and your medical, I think it needs to be spoken about. I don't think that should be a secret. Just like New York City cops and teachers, and it shouldn't be a secret. That's all. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Superintendent Lynn Adams and the board. I'm a little nervous because this is my first time and moving from Queens to Long Island about a year now, trying to get my 2 boys into a better education and a community. But unfortunately, the move that we've done has been very saddened for one of my boys. He is a 5-year-old that's in one of the Kanetwa school district, and apparently there was an incident at the school where one of the child did say that he was going to bring a gun and shoot him.
Hey, I think that once again, I'm going to ask, I mean, you can talk more about it, but I'm going to ask that you put your name and have the superintendent call you tomorrow, because it sounds a little more than just 3-minute conversation.
Okay. And I'm also going to piggyback off of what Jackie mentioned about getting services where, you know, academically, he is bright, he's smart, you know, 90s and 100s on his test every time he's coming home. But where in terms of, like, you know, a little behavioral issue here and there, he's a typical 5-year-old. But when we requested services, we never got it. And fighting with the school here and there, it was just thrown out of the window, constantly on the phone with them, several emails. You know, I was told that I was going to get in touch whatsoever, blah, blah, nothing. So, you know, as someone mentioned, our tax dollars do pay for all of these and these services that are provided, but when we're a parent and we are requesting this, we should be answered. And I think, you know, changes needs to be made now, because COVID did make a lot of changes, and it did, you know, affect a lot of lives, but things need to go moving forward. So I'm going to leave my name and...
Yes, go ahead. Thank you. I'm letting her write, and people have to stand on top of her. Just make sure your name is on there, and just write idle hour.
Your best contact, yes, your best contact.
You can just leave it there.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Number 6. Oh, 7.
So I want to discuss something that I had started to bring up a few months ago. I did ask quite a few times if DEI was being taught in our district, and the response I received from Mr. Middleman, who I realize is no longer employed here, but at the time he told me no. He specified DEI is not part of or embedded into our K-5 health curriculum taught by all elementary social workers, nor is it a requirement of the July 2018 New York State Framework for Mental Health Initiatives. I did ask, of course, about all grades, not just K-5 and all schools, and not just about anything that was implemented in 2018. So I'd like to ask again if somebody can possibly tell me, is it taught here? Why or why not? Or is it embedded in any curriculum? Are we open for that discussion, or are we allowed to answer that?
Jackie, you were reverberating. Are you talking about DEI? Are you talking about the new framework that came out from the State Education Department that's under review on DEI?
Yeah, the Culturally Responsive Sustaining Framework, CRS.
Yeah, that's actually still under review by the State Education Department and has not been implemented in Connecticut in any way.
Oh, it hasn't been done yet. What came out last April?
Correct.
Not in Connecticut. Okay. All right. I'm concerned about that because, of course, you know, I read through it, and the framework, the CRS framework, does promote the incorporation of SEL into the curriculum, which, as we know, is part of the Ruler program from Dr. Mark Brackett. And the other thing that I find very interesting is that we did implement Ruler, I believe. Is it implemented at this time? And Ruler itself actually has a section on their website that says commitment to DEI in Ruler. I actually have a printout that I'd like to leave for you, and it says Ruler is an on-ramp to work in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I understand that you've said you're not doing DEI. Why are you saying no, but yet it's here? How do you justify that you're saying it's not, but yet it's part of the Ruler program? Is there an answer for that?
So there is definitely social emotional literacy being taught district-wide. It's taught in our health curriculum. It's implemented into our classrooms. One of the programs that was brought in by our PPS program to implement social emotional literacy was Ruler. It was rolled out this year. I believe this was the year that we went K-12 with it, but I could get more information for you from our PPS department if you'd like.
Okay, all right, because it's just a little concerning that I'm constantly told that it isn't there, and yet that's there. The other thing that does concern me, again, about DEI, is that there is an organization by the name of LISA, I think that's the acronym, how you pronounce it, Long Island Strong Schools Alliance, who does have a mission for diversity, equity, inclusion, and that's fine. But they do have a Facebook page where on February 4th, they did feature one of our 5th grade classes. So I'm really concerned. It's not my child, but I'm concerned about the fact that I know the image and the post was shared on our Connect What School District Facebook page, which is public. But where are the limits for another organization, especially one that is so, opinionated in such polar times, able to take our children's images and put it on their site? I don't know where the privacy limits are, but that is very concerning to me that they did that. And I would hope that if that's the case, you would contact them and ask that they remove it. These are people's children. It's on our Facebook page, that's one thing, but now they took it and put it on theirs. So it's a little concerning, so I would suggest that you take a look at that. Okay, thank you.
Eight. Nine. Is anyone else here to speak? Not the cool numbers, there's only 5 people here. 6, 5. Anyone else? Okay, so I'll make a motion to move into executive session to seek advice from our attorney.
Motion.
Second? Second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
read the amended.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Need a motion and a second to move back into public session?
Motion.
All in favor? Aye. I need a motion and a second to approve agenda item number 19 as amended. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Brian?
I said aye.
You did?
Yeah.
Mylan? Okay, I didn't hear her. Okay, motion so carried. Good night. I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second. Aye.